On July 1, 2025, the world turned like any other day. The sun rose with no special hue, the winds did not announce a shift, and the birds sang the same morning melodies. But beneath the surface, something quiet moved, something sacred. It was not an event you would see on the news, not something your neighbors would mention over tea. No trumpet sounded, no thunder cracked the sky. And yet, a revelation descended, not from the stars, not from above, but from within. It was not something you could hear with your ears, but only with the rarest and most underused faculty of the modern human being, the silent attention of the spirit. God does not always speak in earthquakes. Most of the time, He whispers. He whispers through your thoughts, your intuition, your inner restlessness. He whispers through the unease that you have tried to ignore, through the patterns that you thought were coincidence. He whispers through the closing of doors you wanted to remain open, and through the opportunities that came disguised as endings. But only those who slow down enough to feel, only those who train themselves to hear beneath the noise will receive the message. What was revealed on this day was not some external prophecy about the world's collapse or some dramatic shift in society. What was revealed was something deeper and far more powerful. The truth that the answers we seek, the direction we crave, the clarity we hope to receive have never been outside of us. They were always present, buried under layers of distraction, habit, conditioning, and fear. The stunned feeling that people experience when they finally understand something they've known all along is not because it was hidden, it's because they were too busy to see it. The world we live in today makes silence feel like a punishment. We are conditioned to always fill the space with sound, with stimulation, with movement. We are told that to be valuable we must be busy, that to be respected we must be loud, that to be successful we must be seen. But the greatest revelations have never required a stage. Truth does not need an audience. Wisdom does not demand applause. And the divine does not scream. It waits. It waits patiently for you to remember that stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness without noise. So on this day, when the surface seemed still and the world carried on as it always does, the few who had cultivated inner stillness received something extraordinary. Not a gift of wealth, of fame, or fortune, but something infinitely more valuable. The reminder that they are not alone, that guidance has not disappeared, that sacred instruction is not extinct. It only hides from those who chase too many things at once. The message was simple, but like all true things, it was also infinitely layered. You are being called back to your source, to simplify, to realign, to listen, not with your ears, but with your being. There is something mysterious that happens when a person truly begins to listen. When they step out of the pattern of reacting, defending, achieving and consuming, and instead sit in presence. When they put their phone down. When they resist the impulse to check, to compare, to impress. When they breathe, not as a technique, but as a remembrance. When they walk slowly, not because they are lazy, but because they are no longer rushing toward a life they don't want. When this begins to happen, space opens inside the soul. Not the space of emptiness, but the space where divine direction can land. The world today is full of people asking for signs, but signs do not reveal themselves to people who will not change. What is the use of showing you the path if you have no intention of walking it? What is the benefit of giving you light if you will only return to the darkness that feels familiar? The truth is, the universe is generous, but it is not careless. God speaks often, but not loudly, and those who complain that they cannot hear are often the same ones who refuse to quiet themselves. To hear what was revealed on July 1, you did not need special powers. You did not need titles or degrees or spiritual trophies. All you needed was willingness. Willingness to surrender the noise. Willingness to pause long enough for your soul to catch up to your body. Willingness to let go of your addiction to external validation. You needed to trust that your inner world is not your enemy, that your discomfort is not a curse, and that the silence you run from is the place where your freedom is stored. What was revealed is not something I can repeat in a sentence, because it is not a sentence. It is an energy. It is a transmission. It is the kind of truth that unfolds in layers over time, not because it is complicated, but because we are. It is the kind of truth that will follow you into your dreams, into your conversations, into your quiet moments. It is the kind of truth that makes you question everything you thought you wanted, not to confuse you, but to purify you. It asks, are you still chasing a life built on someone else's definition of meaning? Are you still building your future with the bricks of your fear? Are you still searching for God in the sky when He has already lit a fire in your chest? This revelation did not arrive with fanfare, but with quiet conviction. It came not to shock you into faith, but to invite you into awareness. It came not to scare you, but to wake you. To remind you that the time for sleeping through your days has ended. That living on autopilot is no longer an option. That you are here for more than mere survival. That life is not about accumulation, but about alignment. And alignment begins with attention. Attention is the rarest form of generosity in our age. To truly give someone or something your full attention is to offer your most sacred power. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And what you consistently give energy to, you breathe life into. Most people are tired, not because they are weak, but because they have given their attention to too many things that drain them. Their energy is scattered across regrets of the past, worries of the future, and the opinions of people who do not even know themselves. But the moment you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your life. So what God revealed was not something new, but something ancient. A truth older than your pain, a wisdom that has been passed through generations, not through books, but through presence. It is the realization that you were never meant to be a machine. You were not created for endless production. You were not designed to live in fear of missing out. You are a soul, temporarily inhabiting a body, temporarily playing a role. And every moment you forget that, you suffer, not as punishment, but as a signal. A sacred reminder that you have drifted from the source. But July 1, something shifted. Not in the headlines, not in the economy, but in the unseen realm. The energy of the earth tilted toward awakening. A new layer of illusion was peeled away. For those who are ready, it felt like light piercing a fog. For others, it felt like discomfort, confusion, or fatigue. Not everyone received the revelation with clarity, but everyone felt something. Because the soul always knows. Even when the mind resists, the body knows when a truth has arrived. This is why some people began crying for no reason, why others suddenly felt the need to walk away from places, jobs, or people that had once seemed tolerable. It's why some began to crave solitude, why others were compelled to clean, declutter, or simplify. These are not coincidences. These are the symptoms of realignment. When truth enters, lies get uncomfortable. When light enters, shadows cannot hide. When spirit speaks, anything not rooted in authenticity begins to tremble. The ones who were truly ready did not ask, why do I feel this way? They simply said, thank you. They understood that to be stunned is not a problem, it is an awakening. That to be shaken is not always a sign of breakdown. It can also be a sacred breakthrough. They understood that God does not reveal to entertain, He reveals to initiate. And every initiation requires you to leave behind what no longer serves you, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. So what now? Now you carry the awareness into your actions. You no longer wait for miracles. You become the miracle. You walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, not because someone told you to, but because you remembered who you are. You remembered that the truth has always been available to you, if only you would stop looking everywhere else, but within. July 1, 2025, was not about the end of anything. It was the unveiling of what has always been. And the only question that remains is not, what did God reveal, but were you listening? There is a moment in every life where the path forward is no longer determined by effort, but by surrender. And that moment arrived quietly on July 5th, 2025. For many, it did not announce itself through sudden epiphany or dramatic clarity. It did not roar through the skies or strike like lightning across the soul. Instead, it pressed itself into the heart with a question that refused to be ignored. Why are you still holding on to what hurts you? That question, though simple in form, is not easy to answer. Because the truth is, most people do not hold on to pain out of ignorance. They hold on because it is familiar, because it feels like home, because even suffering can become a companion when it is the only thing you know how to trust. God did not reveal a new law on July 1. He revealed a reality that many have been denying for far too long, that the weight you carry is not being forced upon you, that the burden you complain about is often one you refuse to set down, that the struggle you live within is not only about circumstances, but about resistance. And the revelation was clear: let go or be dragged. These are not threats, these are truths. The divine does not coerce your growth, but it will allow your resistance to teach you what comfort cannot. There is something that happens in the human spirit when it is faced with the choice between staying the same or finally releasing what no longer aligns with the soul. And that something feels like fear. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like death. Because in many ways, it is the death of false identity, the death of attachments built on fear, the death of illusions you created to feel safe. But there is no rebirth without a burial, and many people suffer not because they are weak, but because they refuse to lay down what is already gone. When you carry something beyond its season, it begins to rot. This is not judgment, it is nature. The fruit that once nourished you, when clung to out of fear of lack, will poison you in time. And so it is with relationships, with habits, with thoughts, with places, with versions of yourself that once served a purpose. The moment you sense that something has ended and you continue to carry it, you do not just burden your back, you blind your vision. You cannot see the path ahead because your hands are full of yesterday. God, in His infinite wisdom, does not remove what you refuse to release. That is not how sacred growth works. He gives you the space to feel the weight, to see the damage, to taste the bitterness of what once was sweet, until your own soul cries out for freedom. Not because He enjoys your pain, but because He honors your free will. And this is the paradox. Suffering is often grace in disguise. It is the mechanism by which the soul becomes tired of its own pattern. It is the friction that awakens you. It is the divine resistance that finally wears out the ego. On July 1, 2025, the message arrived with unmistakable clarity for those who were ready to listen. This is not a time for carrying the dead weight of false dreams. This is not a time for pretending you are fine in environments that kill your spirit. This is not a time for bargaining with what clearly no longer belongs. It is not bravery to suffer needlessly. It is not loyalty to stay in places that no longer serve your highest purpose. And it is not wisdom to water gardens that no longer bloom. Let go or be dragged. What does it mean to let go? It means to stop negotiating with your inner knowing. It means to stop asking for permission from others to honor your truth. It means to recognize that peace is more important than being understood, that alignment is more valuable than approval, that your evolution is sacred even if it makes you unrecognizable to those who once knew you. Letting go is not just about walking away from things, it is about releasing the beliefs that told you it was noble to stay in pain. To let go is not to abandon responsibility. It is to embrace the deepest responsibility you have, the responsibility to protect your energy, your purpose, your path. You cannot walk forward if every step is tied to something behind you. You cannot rise if your wings are tangled in guilt, shame, or nostalgia. And you cannot serve the world if your spirit is chained to versions of yourself that were built on survival, not truth. God did not create you to suffer under the weight of your past. He created you to rise through it, to learn from it, to transmute it, and then to release it. Being dragged is not always dramatic, it is often quiet. It is waking up with dread and pretending everything is fine. It is saying yes when your soul screams no. It is staying in cycles because you fear judgment. It is clinging to relationships where your spirit is invisible. It is holding on to goals that no longer reflect your heart. It is telling the same story of pain until it becomes your personality. You are being dragged every time you choose familiarity over freedom. But there is a moment, a sacred one, when you feel the rope burn, when the dragging becomes unbearable, when the soul screams louder than the ego, and in that moment you are not being punished, you are being initiated. That pain is not cruelty, it is the alarm of awakening. It is the divine pulling you out of agreement with your own limitations, not through shame, but through compassion, not through pressure, but through clarity. Because what you cannot release consciously, life will pry from your hands through experience. And so you must ask yourself, what are you still carrying that your soul has outgrown? What story do you keep repeating to avoid walking into the unknown? Who are you still waiting for to change so that you can feel peace? What dream are you pursuing that no longer feels alive? The answers to these questions are not easy, but they are necessary. Because every ounce of energy you invest in clinging to the false delays, you're meeting with the true. Every minute spent holding on to the familiar is a minute you are not available for transformation. The stunned feeling that so many felt on July 1 was not confusion, it was clarity breaking through illusion. It was the body realizing that the soul has been patient long enough. It was the awareness that nothing is being taken from you, only that which you no longer need. And if it hurts, it is only because your hands have held too tightly. The pain is not from the loss, it is from the resistance. It is the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. True letting go does not come with fanfare. It is not a performance. It is not loud. It is quiet. It is sacred. It is often done alone. It is crying on the floor without understanding why, and then standing up with a lighter heart. It is waking up and no longer needing to explain your decisions. It is noticing that the old wound no longer triggers you. It is a new peace that feels unfamiliar only because chaos had become your comfort. It is freedom that feels like emptiness only because burden was your companion. To let go is to trust. To trust that the space left behind will not be empty, but open. That the void you fear will not swallow you, but transform you. That what is meant for you will never require you to betray yourself, and that God, in all His wisdom, will never remove something from your life without the intention to replace it with something greater. Not always in form, but always in truth. You cannot receive with clenched fists. You cannot fly with heavy wings. You cannot rise if you insist on dragging the anchor. Letting go is the ultimate act of faith. It is believing in what you cannot yet see. It is honoring the voice within, even when others do not understand. It is walking away not because you are bitter, but because you are ready. It is no longer confusing loyalty with self-abandonment. It is choosing the unknown over the unbearable. It is deciding that peace is no longer negotiable. And it is remembering that you do not have to wait until life forces your hand. You can release by choice. You can walk away with grace. You can end cycles, not in anger, but in wisdom. So the question now is not whether God spoke on July 1. He did. The question is, are you willing to act on what you felt? Are you ready to honor the revelation with your decisions? Are you ready to make room for the life that is trying to reach you? Because nothing new can enter a space that is already full. The next chapter of your life is not waiting for more effort. It is waiting for more space. Sparkles. And space is created by release. Release of what no longer fits, of what no longer uplifts, of what no longer reflects your truth. This is not the time to resist the natural deaths occurring in your life. It is the time to honor them, to understand that every ending carries the seed of a beginning, that grief is not a failure, it is a sign of courage, that letting go does not diminish your love, it deepens it. Because love is not proven by how long you suffer, it is proven by how willing you are to evolve. And evolution requires movement. Movement requires trust. Trust requires letting go. And letting go, ultimately, is the path of liberation. You do not have to be perfect to release. You only have to be willing. Willing to trust your soul more than your fear. Willing to believe that God is not punishing you but preparing you. Willing to act on the quiet wisdom that has been whispering inside you for years. Willing to say yes to the pull toward freedom, even if it makes no sense to the logical mind. Because your soul does not speak in logic, it speaks in truth. And truth, when denied, becomes pain, but when accepted, it becomes power. Let go or be dragged. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Transformation does not come when the conditions are perfect. It comes when you realize that waiting for perfection is the very thing keeping you from changing. It comes when you finally understand that the smallest action, taken with presence and faith, has the power to shift the course of your life in ways your mind could never fully predict. On July 1, 2025, what God revealed was not a grand plan with all the answers laid out. It was a gentle nudge, a sacred reminder that you are never powerless, that at any moment you can change your direction, not by conquering the world in one day, but by reclaiming one moment, one choice, one breath. The stunned feeling that spread through many hearts on that day did not arrive because something external had shifted dramatically. It came because the veil of complexity was lifted, because for a brief moment people were reminded that the distance between who they are and who they want to be is not built with leaps, but with steps. There was no magic wand. There was no divine shortcut. There was only the truth, and the truth is this: one small, intentional decision can awaken something inside you that no amount of overthinking ever could. The world is addicted to speed, to dramatic change, to grand gestures. People love to fantasize about the day they will finally get it all together, finally take control, finally become someone different. But what they fail to see is that the bridge between where they are and where they wish to be is not built with fantasy. It's built with practice. Not the kind of practice that demands perfection, but the kind that simply shows up, the kind that chooses to act when it would be easier to delay, the kind that honors effort even when the outcome is unclear, the kind of practice that whispers, "Today matters." When God revealed the message on July 1, He didn't speak in thunder. He spoke in the rhythm of your breath, in the rhythm of your thoughts, in the rhythm of your habits, because how you do anything is how you do everything. Every small act is a signal. Every small decision sends a message to your subconscious mind about who you believe you are. And over time, those small messages become the architecture of your reality. You do not become strong all at once. You become strong in the decision to get up when it would be easier to stay down. You become wise by listening a little deeper. You become peaceful by pausing before you react. You become whole by honoring one truth at a time. Most people underestimate the power of these small acts because they are addicted to intensity. They want the breakthrough without the discipline. They want the reward without the repetition. But the universe does not bend for those who wish. It bends for those who walk. And walking in this context is not about how far you go. It's about how consistently you take a step. Just one step, just one decision to be a little more aligned than yesterday. That's where the real power lies, in the choice to repeat the right thing even when no one is watching. Transformation is not about force, it is about alignment. And alignment begins with attention. Attention to what you're doing, attention to how you're feeling, attention to the rituals that shape your day. What do you reach for in the morning? What do you say to yourself before bed? What kind of energy do you allow in your space? What kind of thoughts do you feed when you're tired? These are the micro decisions that either build you or break you. And most people never change, not because they're incapable, but because they ignore these questions. They live reactively, not intentionally. They drift instead of direct, and they wait for transformation, not realizing they are the ones who must begin it. The power of small choices is not in their size, it is in their accumulation. Just as one drop of water is insignificant, but millions of drops can carve through stone. One aligned action may feel insignificant in the moment, but over time it reshapes everything. Every time you meditate instead of scroll, you are chipping away at the illusion of helplessness. Every time you speak truth instead of hiding, you are reshaping your identity. Every time you choose nourishment over numbing, presence over panic, growth over comfort, you are sending a message to the universe: I am ready. God does not demand your perfection. He invites your participation. He does not ask you to be fearless. He asks you to act with courage, even when fear is loud. And courage, contrary to what many believe, is not a grand leap. It is a quiet choice. It is choosing to start again when you fail. It is choosing to continue even when no one encourages you. It is choosing to believe in what you cannot yet see. And those who understand this principle, those who honor small steps, who create sacred rituals, who treat each day as a training ground for the soul, they are the ones who transform, not overnight, but inevitably. There is no transformation without repetition. There is no elevation without structure. Most people want to feel different before they act different. But the truth is, you must act different before you feel different. Emotions follow behavior. Confidence follows action. Clarity follows commitment. You don't wait for the right energy. You generate it. And that generation begins with the smallest unit of change. A single choice. This is what was revealed. Not a prophecy of destruction, not a secret path to instant success, but a pattern, a design, a principle older than time itself, that greatness is not the result of massive effort all at once, but of aligned effort again and again. That healing does not come from waiting for wounds to disappear, but from choosing daily to tend to them with gentleness and patience. That discipline is not punishment, but love in motion. That ritual is not rigidity. It is freedom, structured with intention. And then we have culmination. People often say they are waiting on God. But what if God is waiting on you? Waiting on you to do the small thing. To say no when you usually say yes, to wake up 10 minutes earlier, to drink the water, to stretch, to pray, to be honest, to stop pretending. What if your next level is not behind some giant wall, but behind the small door you keep ignoring because it looks too simple? Complexity is the disguise of ego. Simplicity is the doorway to power. On July 1, many people felt a strange stirring. Not because something outside of them changed, but because something inside them awakened. The awareness that the next season of their life was not going to be created by dramatic external shifts, but by the way they choose to live each ordinary day. Because no day is ordinary to the soul that is present. No action is wasted to the mind that understands energy. No effort is small when done in alignment with truth. When you understand this, you stop seeking miracles. You start becoming one. Not because you suddenly have special powers, but because you stop ignoring your own. You stop underestimating your ability to influence your path. You begin to realize that you are not a passive observer of your life, you are a creator. You begin to see that even your thoughts are choices, and your energy is sacred, and your habits are prayers, and your rituals are conversations with the divine. This is why the message stuns so many, because it stripped away the illusion that transformation is somewhere far away. It shattered the lie that you must wait for a better time, better circumstances, better motivation. It exposed the truth that you already have what you need to begin, that the door is already unlocked, that the path already exists inside you, and all that is required is a step. Not a perfect step, not a confident step, just a willing one. There is something holy about those who live with intention, who wake up and repeat their rituals not out of obligation, but out of reverence, who understand that brushing your teeth with presence is a spiritual act, that making your bed is an energetic decision, that silence is not absence, it is preparation, that how you do anything is a reflection of how you do everything. These are the people who are building transformation, moment by moment, brick by brick, choice by choice. So when the world tells you that change must be sudden, dramatic, exhausting, smile and return to your breath. Remember the message. Remember the rhythm. You are not here to perform. You are here to align. You are not here to chase. You are here to return. And you return again and again by honoring the small, by choosing what feels right over what feels easy, by remembering that every moment is a portal, every decision is an altar, every habit is a prayer. The difference between the person who transforms and the one who stays stuck is not knowledge. It is not potential. It is not even desire. It is choice. The willingness to do the thing, even when it seems insignificant. The commitment to the process, even when the results are slow. The faith to keep going, even when nothing has changed yet. Because the universe is always responding to energy, not excuses. To consistency, not emotion. To frequency, not force. And so transformation does not belong to the gifted. It belongs to the disciplined, to the humble, to those who choose to start, to continue, to refine, to those who build their inner temple, not in public, but in the quiet hours of the morning, to those who show up for themselves when no one else sees, to those who believe in the compound power of alignment. This was the revelation. This is the stunned awakening, that the power you've been seeking is not locked in the heavens. It is in your habits, in your heart, in your hands.